Hi, my name is Asunaba Yaw-Aku-Mensah, and on this platform, I share relevant, practical, and authentic business information that enables you to make informed and successful business decisions. Do you know that so many people have found themselves in very embarrassing situations because they appended their signature to loan agreements without due consideration of certain important factors? Some people have had their hard-earned property seized and sold to defray the loans they contracted. There are others who have been dragged embarrassingly before courts. Yet there are so many others who have been subjected to several embarrassing situations that they least expected. Well, today I want to share with you 3 golden factors you must not ignore if you want to be safe with any loan agreement in Ghana. Golden factor number 1. Critically assess your capacity to pay the loan. In going for any loan, the first and most important thing for you to do is to assess your own capacity to be able to pay that loan. And in doing so, I have outlined 5 key steps you can follow in doing so. Step number 1, determine the source from which to pay the loan. Where are you going to pay the loan from? It could be from your salary, it could also be from a business that you run. Now, having determined the source from which to pay the loan, the second step is to estimate the cash flow from that source. So if it's your salary, then you are talking about how much you earn at the end of the month. You should be able to estimate that. If you want to use your business to pay, then look at how much sales you make at the end of the month. So calculate your daily sales or your weekly sales until you get whatever you are able to earn at the end of the month. So that is the second step. The third step is to consider what I call the necessary expenses. Necessary expenses, as the name implies, are expenses that are critical, that are very important for you as an individual or for your business. In the case of an individual, you are talking about expenses such as expenses on food, expenses on clothing, rents, school fees, utilities, etc., etc. Medical expenses, of course. These are critical expenses without which you cannot survive. So take note of them. In the case of a business, you are looking at expenses including purchase of raw materials, payment of salaries, rent for office space, and so on and so forth. So these necessary expenses are very, very important to be able to keep your business running and also as an individual to be able to survive. Having determined the total cash from the source, the next step you have to follow is to subtract the total necessary expenses from the total cash flow. And once you do that, you come to the 5th step, which is that it will give you a net, that is what we call the net cash. Now, compare that net cash with the repayment of the loan. How much are you going to pay for the loan at the end of the month? Compare that with the net cash. If the net cash is greater than the repayment of the loan, then you can comfortably take the loan. However, if they are equal or the repayment is more than the net cash, then you don't have to take the loan. Either you reduce the amount or you don't take the loan at all. So these are the 5 basic steps you have to follow in assessing your own capacity, whether you can pay the loan or not. Now, golden factor number 2, look out for what we call the pre-agreement. The pre-agreement is simply a statement that tells you all the terms and conditions associated with the loan. So it gives you a foreknowledge of what you are getting yourself into in terms of the terms and conditions that are related to that particular loan. Having the pre-agreement gives you 2 basic advantages. Advantage number 1, it gives you the opportunity to compare any new term or condition introduced by your bank. In the course of the loan, if your bank comes up with any term or condition, you have the opportunity to compare it with the terms and conditions as contained in the pre-agreement. And if that new term or condition is not part of the pre-agreement, you have every right to object. The second advantage you stand to gain having the pre-agreement is that at the end of the loan, you have the opportunity to compare the total amount you have paid with the total amount as stated in the pre-agreement. And if you have paid anything in excess, you can call for a refund. So the pre-agreement is very important. Now, let's quickly look at the content of the pre-agreement. What are you supposed to see in the pre-agreement? The first is the interest rate. How much is to be charged on the amount or the principal in terms of interest. The other thing is that look at whether the interest is a fixed interest or a variable interest. A fixed interest, as the name implies, remains the same throughout the life of the loan. So if it's 10%, it will remain 10% until the loan expires. Variable interest rate, again, as the name implies, changes in the course of the loan. So it can start as a small interest rate, but it may end as a very big interest rate. So look out for that. It's also very important. The second thing you have to see in the pre-agreement is all charges and fees. All charges and fees associated with the loan must be stated clearly in the pre-agreement. And these charges and fees include commissions, administration and processing fees, commitment fees, insurance, etc. So every fee or charge related to that loan must clearly be stated in the pre-agreement. The next thing is the repayment schedule or the repayment schedule. The repayment schedule simply gives you the dates on which every repayment has to be made. So which date of the month, okay, are you supposed to make your repayments? The second thing in the repayment schedule is the total repayments that you have to make, okay? And then it also gives you a breakdown of the total repayment into the principal component and the interest component. And then the last thing in the repayment schedule is the outstanding loan balance. So these are very essential details you have to find in the repayment schedule, which has to be stated in the pre-agreement. The next is security deposits or deposit required as a condition to access the loan. There are certain loans where you are required to have a certain percentage of the principal in your account before it will be approved for you or before you can access it. So for instance, if the bank's policy says that before you are given that particular loan, you must have, say, 25% in your account, it has to be stated in the pre-agreement. There are also some loans where if you contract them, you will have to make periodic deposits. So for instance, the bank can have a policy that says that for this particular loan, you have to make 1% deposit every month. So if, for instance, you took a loan of 1,000 and the policy says that every month you have to make a deposit of 1%, then it means that every month you make a deposit of 10 Ghana cedis. So that's also very important. Security deposit or deposit required as a condition to access the loan will also have to be stated in the pre-agreement. Then the next thing is penal charges. Remember, loan is a contract, and like any contract, it comes with terms and conditions. So if you breach any term or condition, there are penalties, there are sanctions for you to suffer. Now, one way by which as a borrower you can breach the loan contract is when you decide to pay the loan before maturity. For instance, you've taken a loan for 1 year and maybe by the 7th month or the 8th month, you want to pay the outstanding. That is a breach. It's a breach because when a bank lends you money, it makes projections on the basis of whatever has been lent to you. And so if you are not able to go the long haul and you terminate it along the way, it creates some form of inconvenience for them in terms of projection. They will have to revise their projections. And so it gives them some form of inconvenience, and as a result, they have to charge you something. The point is that when you come to the stage where you want to, pay off your outstanding before maturity, the first thing to do is to write officially to your bank, indicating your intention to liquidate or pay off the outstanding. Now, when your bank receives your letter, they will give you 20 days within which to terminate or to pay off the outstanding balance. Now, after that has been done, your bank is supposed to charge you not more than 0.25% of the principal amount of the loan. In other words, if you breach that aspect of the contract, if you pay the loan, before maturity, your bank will have to charge you a penalty not exceeding 0.25% of the principal amount of the loan. So for instance, if you took a loan of 1,000 Ghana cedis and you are liquidating it after say 6 or 7 months, you don't have to pay anything more than 25 Ghana cedis. If your bank charges you anything more than that, you have every right to call for a refund. So let us take note of that. The other thing you have to look out for is the total amount to pay back. Yes, the total amount to pay back. And the total amount to pay back includes the principal plus the interest plus all charges and fees. So every charge or fee plus the interest plus the principal will give you the total amount you have to pay back. And this is very, very important because it gives you the opportunity to compare. At the end of the loan, you have every right to look at what you have paid actually as against what the pre-agreement says. And if you have paid anything in excess of what is required, then you have every right to call for a refund. After you have done that, the third golden factor you have to consider is to look at what we call the annual percentage rates or APR. The annual percentage rate simply means that the interest plus all charges and fees will give you the annual percentage rate. You need to look at the total interest that you will pay plus all charges and fees. That will give you the annual percentage rate. Having done that, don't be in a haste to sign the loan agreement. Compare the annual percentage rate with annual percentage rate of other banks so far as the amount of loan you intend to assess, and then be able to get the best deal. So these are 3 very critical factors you have to consider before signing or assessing any loan in Ghana. I believe that you have learned something from this video. Like, share, and leave your comments. Until I see you again in our next video, it's me, AYAM, saying stay safe, stay strong.